So I just want to start off by asking you, is golf that hard, or do we make it that hard?
It's that hard.
It's that hard?
Period. It's that hard. And when you're talking about such a small golf ball, such a small hitting surface area, and then you throw in the complication, you've got a round golf ball and you're hitting it with a round club head,
Yeah.
right? Not quite the barrel that is a baseball bat, but still, it's a challenging game. And the uncertainties that lie in the golf course, whether it's the variability in lie, the grass conditions, the change in speeds, the weather, it's when you throw it all into the mix and you shake it up, it's a very complex cocktail and challenging. So I think that, the lesson to be learned for me as a player through my amateur, collegiate, and professional days, and me as a coach is that, tolerance, mistake tolerance is such an important skill to learn. And as I say that, what I immediately kind of throw back to is John Rahm's interview at a recent event. I'm not too sure which one it was, where he talked about Ted Lasso and being a goldfish, right? Mm-hmm. Short-term memory is such an important thing in the game of golf, to have some mistake tolerance and some amnesia to what's going on. So we have a greater chance when we do that of forgetting about the bad stuff, not looking in the rearview mirror and forging forward and making swings or passes at the ball, chip shots, pitch shots, putts that have no burden of consequence from what happened prior to them. Right. So, that's a long-winded way to answer a very short question. Is it that hard? Yeah, it is.
It is hard. It is. I agree. It is hard. And as he said, it's complex. Now, you have so much information to impart. You've been doing this for
25 years.
A fair number of years. Yeah. And in a lesson, you can give a player, what's that line of not making it too complicated, of trying to keep it simple enough and that it is a game, or what we're trying to put a ball in a hole, keep it that simple. But there's also so much you can give them. You can go down so many rabbit holes. How do you draw that line when you're working with a player?
How long do we have? It's tough. Yeah, there's no doubt. The runway that a coach has to affect change and to show someone that they're capable of doing something that they maybe formally didn't think they were capable of doing, it's very short. Mm-hmm. It's a matter of golf balls. It's 3 to 5 shots before that person standing in front of you, whether they verbalize it or whether it stays internal, is going to be questioning what it is that you're telling them. And so you can extend that runway as a coach by having just a frank conversation. Look, I'm not too sure whether this first thing I ask you to do is going to be the thing that changes, or whether we're going to have to audible, to use that football expression, to some other cue or some other play or some other drill or some other training aid that we may need to use to affect change. And I'm not too sure whether this is going to be the only thing that needs to happen. To view coaching through the coach's eyes, to understand that someone sits in front of you and says, I want to do X or Y, or both of those things, and to see this developmental pathway, but to know that it's going to take time to get there, but the person standing in front of you wants to get there now. And so I have one foot on the accelerator because I'm impatient and greedy as the next person, and I understand that from the golfer's standpoint. But I also have the foot on the brake to know that we've got to go through this process together. And that's an important point, right? Together. It's a coaching relationship. It's advice, and it's sweat equity. And it's pushing through what might be difficult initially to make it easier over time. So there's no short way to answer that question other than to say, yes, it's difficult, but as long as there's buy-in from both sides, things can happen sooner rather than later, but they can't happen with a level of impatience that causes someone to spit the bit in 4 to 5 swings, right? Yeah. So, it's a nice science experiment that we run when we're giving advice to players, never knowing whether it's going to stick the first time or whether it's going to take some sort of adaptation or change in the process.